Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome to this first of not the My Team Career Mode series. And this is just the Australian Grand Prix. There are 21 more races lined up, so make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you do not miss any update when I upload new videos of upcoming races. But for now, it's time for this quali session at the Australian Grand Prix. And coming up into this session, I was entirely pumped to see what we can make of this Williams package, and I was hopeful to sort of bring this car into Q2. But now, as we start Q1,
We seem to be having some software issues at the moment. Sit tight for a few minutes while we reboot some things, okay?
I mean, I have to be honest, it's not the best of starts anybody can have to their career mode, but for the setup for you guys, I think it's not too aggressive. I think it's 4-7 wings, and yeah, basically very gentle on the tires and very race friendly for the remainder of the setup. But yeah, I think we come around for our first quali lap now, and pretty much maxed out on the revs and on ERS mode. Now coming up to turn 1, brake at the 100-meter board, throw the car into turns 1 and 2, now up onto turn 3, and it's very important to keep the car in a straight line. Eyes to your left now, brake at the 100-meter board. Very important to not lock up and go this deep like we do, and we lose the car a little out of turn 3, and this pretty much ruined our lap, and we lose the car again out of turn 5. So not, yeah, I think I realized that it wasn't really didn't really make any sense to sort of carry on with that lap, and we went back straight to the garage, and now out on a fresh set of soft tires for a new hot lap, again braking at the 100-meter board, throwing the car into turn 1 and into turn 2, now running up to turn 3, eyes again to the left, braking at the 100-meter board, and then very important to not lock up here. We get a decent exit out of turn 3 and 4, and this time I think we'll be more cautious around turn 5. We still managed to, yeah, we managed to keep it in one piece and braking just before the 50-meter board and throwing the car into this right-hander. And it's very important to be in the right frame of mind for these two sectors, second and third sectors on this lap, because corners sort of throw themselves at you and you have to be really sort of precise with your turn in points. But now coming up to this beautiful left and right sequence, turns 10 and 11, and yeah, the Williams sort of understeers on entry, but yeah, it is Williams, and I wasn't expecting any better. And coming up to this corner, braking at the 100-meter board again, down 4 gears, and I have no idea why we don't get to track limits and validation there, but yeah, keeping it just about within the white lines, and we come around, I think it should be around the 125s, but let's see, it is a 125.0, and this was heartbreak, to be honest. We were not even within 3 seconds of the leader, and I chose to go on a fresh set again, but we lost so much time with the ruined first hot lap and the issue at the starting, that it was a start from last. That was the 20th position, and I sort of expected it, not going to lie, but to be this off was a heartbreak, really. But yeah, this is Sunday now, and Sunday is a different game altogether, and let's see if we can make something out of this Williams package.
And home to round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. We're a stone's throw from the enormous Port Phillip Bay for today's race at the 3.3-mile Albert Park circuit. It's a bumpy racing surface here, and the 16 corners could prove especially difficult in the wet conditions. Watch out for a safety car at some point during the Grand Prix. Here we are then, Formula One in 2020. The fight for the World Championship all starts here today. Mercedes on the hunt for a 7th consecutive title. They'll have Ferrari and Red Bull to contend with along the way. Williams struggled to find their feet last year. They'll be hoping for a stronger start this time around. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Albon, Sainz, Ricciardo, Norris and Esteban Ocon, Stroll, Gasly, Daniel Kvyat and Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Perez, Kevin Magnussen and Roman Grosjean. Russell and a Williams rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Okay, new season, and we're starting at the back. Let's see if we can do better in the race.
And for the race itself, I was sort of surprised to see that you can change stuff other than your tire and brake pressures for a wet start, because I think that's not allowed in Parc Fermé. So that is the only thing that I change for this race. But anyhow, on to the race strategy now. I think we're going to pit on lap 14, and I would want to stretch that stint a little just in case there is a possibility of rain subsiding around lap 17 or 18. But anyhow, it's time for the start, and 5 lights and away we go. We do get a decent start, but Russell and Grosjean get better starts, so to speak. And now our only objective right now was to not crash, as we almost lose the car there. And into the first corner, we take the outside line, we see a space and we go for it, and just pretty much keeping it clean. But as you can see, up to turn 3 now, and the racing point of Perez has, it's way too fast in the straight line for us, as we almost take Perez and Russell out on the very first lap itself, and we almost go to neutral there. So for this first lap, our only objective was to not crash, and I think the first race of the season, I wanted to be a little cautious with it. But as you can see now, we have gone down the inside of our teammate. There was a little space and we went for it, and now into turn 6, I think it is, turn 6, we get ahead of George Russell, our teammate. So into P17, now we gain 3 places on the very first lap, and in this spray on this wet track, it's very, very tough to spot the braking points. And as we almost run into the back of Kevin Magnussen, but so far so good. We haven't had any damage on the car, and that was what I was sort of aiming for on this first lap. We made 3 places, but very unlikely of the racing point of Perez is down in the 19th position, so maybe he'll be a threat later in the race, because we've seen how fast he is in a straight line. But anyhow, coming towards the last sequence of corners on this very first lap, we made 3 positions, and there is a train forming in front of us. I think all of them are sort of being cautious at this very starting lap, but on to lap 2, and as you can see, our teammate sort of wants to go round the outside, but we have the inside line and we pretty much leave him out to dry. And coming out of turn 3 on lap 2, we don't get the best of exits. We have a little bit too tentative on the throttle whip, but driving this Williams, as if it has taught me one thing, it's that you have to be very, very tentative on the throttle coming out of slow corners, because this Williams just doesn't really want to be pushed. And you'll see in the laps that are about to come. But this Williams is not the car that you would want to drive in the wet out of slow corners. And I mean, I have to be honest with you, I'm not really great in the wet. But anyhow, on lap 4 into turn 3, as you can see, we've caught up to the back of Magnussen, and there are now clusters starting to form. Some people, some drivers have sort of broken free from the chain, and some are still part of it. But I think it's very representative of where the race pace is for these teams. But now coming out of turn 5 on lap 6, we're behind Magnussen. We're pretty much the same distance which we were on the lap before, but overtaking in Australia, there are pretty much only 2 major overtaking spots in Australia. It's one turn 3 and another into turn 10 after the second DRS zone. But this is a wet weather race, so no DRS. So if we don't have the straight line speed without the aid of DRS in this wet weather, it would be tough for us to overtake. But coming up onto lap 7 now, behind Kevin Magnussen, who is behind the Italian Giovinazzi. So I pretty much want to keep the car stable and just do clean laps at the moment, because I do not want any penalties on track extensions, track limit extensions. But yeah, getting sort of closer to Magnussen, but still not close enough, as we almost lose the car out of turn 3. So this Williams out of the slow corner, it's very, very tough to sort of keep it in a straight line and get good exits all the time. But coming up on lap 8, as our race engineer tells us that
There's an incident in the next part of the track. No overtaking through the yellow flags.
yeah, there is an incident ahead of us, and I think it's the Renault of Esteban Ocon. So yeah, the Renault of Esteban Ocon has had some problems and he's out of the session. So we move up a place into P16, as
Car is out.
the virtual safety car is out now, because I think Ocon was not in the best of places for a quick tow. But coming up on to lap 9, as you can see, we're behind Magnussen again, and the VSC is now ending. So we go back to racing speeds, and behind us, sort of the positions have sort of stayed the same. I think we're broken free from the Russell and Perez cluster, but we're still not past this Magnussen and Giovinazzi duo. But coming up onto lap 10 again, and this is sort of a recurring theme for this entire Grand Prix. We're stuck behind Magnussen and Giovinazzi, because around Australia and in this wet weather in the Williams, it's pretty tough to go for overtakes in positions that you wouldn't expect, because the only overtaking spots, as I mentioned before, are into turn 3 and turn 10. But anyhow, we do our best to sort of stick with them. This car doesn't really like to be pushed, but yeah, up onto lap 11 into turn 3, we sort of want to have a look down the inside, but we realize we're way too far back, and out of turn 3 again. It's not in the rain. I think if you even put one tire on the curbs, it pretty much ruins your exit. But lap 12 again, same story. Out of turn 3, we're not close enough to have a go down the inside. But coming up onto lap 13, we think about going down the inside, almost lose a front end and lose the car out of turn 3. And yeah, in this wet weather, and I mean, I'm not the best driver in the wet. I mean, there is still a lot of work to do for me, but keeping this Williams within the lines and keeping just a clean race is sort of my objective for now. As on lap 14, I was sort of getting irritated with Magnussen now, because I had no idea if I would be faster if I were in front of him. But now I decided that maybe I should lick the stamp and send it, and we send it down into turn 3, but we lock up and go deep into the corner, and Magnussen gets the switch as we get a warning and almost lose the car out of turn 3 and into turn 4. So yeah, we're pretty much walking on very, very thin ice here with the traction. But on to lap 14 now, as you can see, we've pit, and behind us, I think Russell, our teammate, has gone on for the next lap, and Perez, I think, is also in the pits. But I think we haven't had the best of in-laps, and I was actually sort of afraid of the overcut from Russell, because I knew that track position at this point was paramount. So coming up on lap 15, but it was a relief to see that Russell wasn't close to us, and we easily jump him. But on to lap 16, and again we're stuck behind Magnussen, so he seems to have had a better in-lap and out-lap than us. And yeah, we're still stuck behind Magnussen on lap 16, and almost lose the car out of turn 3 on lap 16. So this Williams out of turn 3, and yeah, maybe I'm not the best in the wet, but out of turn 3, I found it very, very difficult to have a good exit all the time. But on to lap 17 now. As you can see, there's not too much to really show on lap 17, but now coming up onto lap 18, as you can see, we lose the car in 5th gear. So traction in this Williams out of corners is, yeah, it's not something you want to experience in real life. But coming up 40 and onto turn 3 on lap 20, braking at the 100-meter board. We're sitting there like a predator. We're waiting for Magnussen to make mistakes so that we can pounce on him, but he's not making any. Just fair drive from Magnussen. But on to lap 21, we think about going down the inside into turn 10, I think it is, yeah. But again, it's the Williams just doesn't want to be pushed beyond a certain point, and it's a tough bargain because you want to go fast, but at the same time you do not want to end in the gravel. But on to lap 22 now on the start-finish straight. As you can see, Perez has caught up with us. So while we were thinking of gaining 2 positions and getting into P14, we might lose P16 to Perez, and this sort of worried me. So I thought maybe I'll try again into turn 3, and we put the car in rich and overtake mode, and into turn 3 behind Kevin Magnussen. We brake at the 100-meter board and we go down the inside of Kevin Magnussen, almost losing our front wing. But yeah, credit where credit is due to Magnussen. He left us the space. Very unlike Magnussen, but we have the 15th position, and we somehow managed to keep it without damage. But on the same lap, out of this right and left, beautiful right and left section, we knew that Giovinazzi had problems with his car. So I knew that this was pretty much going to be an easy overtake. So into turn 10 again, just down 3 gears, and we have Giovinazzi lets us by easily. And the next car in front of us is Pierre Gasly, but yeah, he was pretty much gaining a second per lap on us. And on lap 26, I sort of realized that it wasn't really, we were not in contention for the points or P13 even. As on lap 26, we see somebody's going slow behind us. Actually, it's Kevin Magnussen. So Magnussen is out of the race, and yeah, with all the fighting with us for all those 22 laps, I think it's such a shame that he had to end this race like this. But yeah, I think for the remainder of the race, I put my car in lean, and pretty much, yeah, I was in preservation mode, as we want to have this power unit for as long as we can. And now coming up to the last corner of the Grand Prix, and I don't know, I mean, let me know in the comment section how I did in terms of the driving. I think I could have been a more aggressive driver in this race, but I think hindsight is a beautiful thing, and at that moment it was very important for me to sort of keep it in one piece and not ruin our race, as we get the driver of the day award. So yeah, maybe it was a decent drive, and I don't know about decent or good or bad, but it was certainly very tough for me. And yeah, just keeping the Williams within the white lines and not ruining our race or anyone else's was what was important for me in this very first race of the season. But do let me know down in the comment section that if you like the race, and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to watch the upcoming races of the season. But until the next time, yeah, just stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.
On the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I think I'm going to award it to the Williams driver. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to...
The fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy. You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you? You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret? How do you feel the weather affected the outcome today? It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it? Great. Well, that's everything.